Hello and welcome to another episode of Mortgage Video Mastermind, where we bring you professionals who share insight into the latest trends, tips, industry, technology, and services to help you create more videos to use in your mortgage business.
And we're live.
And we're live.
Okay.
Nice.
Awesome. Now, let's see if we have anyone joining. Yes, we are live. Okay. Well, welcome to our next episode of Mortgage Video Mastermind. Today, I think it's just you and I, Scott.
Yeah, and we're here in the war room at Carl White's Freedom Club event in Orlando at Disneyland.
Yeah, in the middle of Disney World.
Disney World, that's right.
Cali,
Disney World.
Cali
Sorry.
boy,
Yeah,
old Cali
yeah,
boy.
Yep.
So yes, we are, and the weather has been good, raining like crazy in the evenings.
Yeah. Yes. Love the lightning storms.
Yeah.
Actually, I like that.
So I think really today we'll just talk about kind of an update. There's been a lot of conversation, really the past 2 days about how to incorporate video in different segments of your business, whether it's in recruiting. Kevin just did a great session that I love talking about
storytelling.
Storytelling. And so
really important.
And how to unpack that. To do that,
take
some time.
Let's start there because it's interesting. So there's this shift, or there's kind of this bridge when we're talking to people. It's kind of like when social media first came out and people would just post stuff on social media and you're like, well, that's the same thing as standing up on the table in the middle of a party and shouting what you do for a living.
Yeah.
And that's what people thought it was, but it's a conversational medium.
Yep.
And what Kevin was sharing today about storytelling, it's so valuable and it's so important. I mean, think of the conversations you have with people. You always, hey, let me tell you what just happened to me. And that's the kind of video that we need to do. Even maybe not process videos necessarily. Well, yeah, actually some process videos like in process. But that storytelling aspect, we really have to take down the perception that video is different than real life. Right. It's like we feel like we have to do something different, or we have to act differently or talk differently when we're on video. And I get it. Psychologically, it's strange because we got this light shining in our face and there's this weird equipment. There's really nobody in front of us.
Right.
But they're out there and you say this all the time. You're actually, even though you're doing one-to-many content, you're having a conversation with one person.
Right.
There's only one person at a time is viewing this. So I really thought that was a fantastic presentation.
Well, and the lessons learned and stories sometimes are hard for us to think about. It's like, well, what story should I tell? I mean, it's the stories you have conversations with people. Like it's what you said. It's like, you sit down to have dinner. It's like, oh my gosh. And those are lessons learned. And I'll give you an example. This is not related to mortgage. So I was having dinner last night with George Chevalier and his wife. And they told the story of coming from Atlanta to Orlando on their trip. And so started out the story. It's like, you'll never believe what happened, right? And so Sheree had forgotten her license because she'd left it on the photocopier. And so she got there and it's like, oh my gosh, am I going to make it through security? And you think about relating that to your borrower stories, right? So it's like setting it up. Hey, man, I had a really hard time getting here. It's like, man, I had a borrower who had a really hard time qualifying.
Yeah.
So where do you start with? That's the first thing, right? So it's like, and I think for most people, it's like, where do I get started? Think about if you're going to tell somebody a story. If you and I were sitting down at lunch and I was going to share a story, how would I start it? That's where you start with your video.
And it's interesting if you notice this, I call this the you're not alone statement, or the you're not alone transition. And I did this when I originated all the time. Every time I would talk to a client, I would always relate it to somebody that I had helped that was in a similar situation. And that's exactly how conversations happen around the table. Somebody tells a story and you're like, oh man, you know what? I had something that happened to me. It was almost like that. You're not going to believe what happened. So, and that's really a powerful sales strategy too, is the you're not alone transition. So when you're talking to somebody or you're talking to a consumer and they're telling you about their story or they lost their job or some sort of hardship, there's always, right now, I think more than at any other time, at least in my career, deals are harder.
Right.
They're a little bit more difficult than they've ever
Got
been.
a little hair on them.
There's a little bit of hair on them, but all loans have hair on them. These just are a little bit like woolly mammoths sometimes, right? Because they really are. So these people, your clients, the consumers you're talking to, they have stories. So relate that back to a very similar story that you've had, because you've solved the same problem for somebody else.
Right.
And that's a great way to not talk to somebody, but talk with somebody and be a guide through their journey to home ownership,
Right.
or reducing their payments, or giving financial relief to their family.
Yep. So for those of you who are listening, come on back. You can get into our, as Scott said in the beginning, we are totally in the war room here.
Yes. And the battle is strong. Going strong in the background.
Although we do have some exciting thing to share. I need to edit it. So maybe a trending video we'll share a little bit later on.
Yes, that was funny.
So stories, thinking about that, the stories where there are lessons to be learned that you can help someone else. I just had someone come up and share a video that they wanted to say, hey, this is a style of video I like. I want to do something like this. And it was a brilliant video. It was a story about a realtor. And it was to her, and she wasn't even talking. She just had some titles come up, and it said, when she's a real estate agent, and when she sold her first house, however long ago, she had made, so much money, and it was like $135,000 that she had made. It's a lot of money. I don't know how many she did. But she said she spent that money on buying a car and clothing and things like that. And the lesson was, she said, if I would have taken that money back in 1987, when she started as a real estate agent, and invested it in property, that today, and she had looked at a condo and she didn't buy it. And if she had bought that condo back in 1987, that condo today would have been worth $1 million. And she said, the car isn't worth anything now, and the clothes don't even fit. So the lesson learned was, so she used her own personal story, right, to give a lesson of, if I would have invested in real estate, then I could have been able to make some money on that.
This reminds me, Josh was just telling me a story last night of his, I think it was one of his wife's close friends that he had been trying to tell them they need to buy. And they wouldn't buy. And this was like 2002, 2003. So they finally decided that they were going to buy. So they pulled out the calculator one day and they realized they spent like $225,000 in rent over the last period of time. So they decided, you know what, we're going to buy. And this was in California, and this was in 2006. Okay. So they bought this home in 2006. We'll call it the top of the market, right before the crash. Their home went from, I think it was $600,000 was the original loan. And the home value crashed to about $350,000.
In 2008, 2009.
Yes, but they stayed there. They didn't lose their job. They kept working. They kept paying their housing expense. They would have paid it for rent anyhow.
Right.
And today that house is worth $1.1 million.
Yeah. So, it's the same thing. It's the stock market right now too. It's like the stock market goes up, the stock market goes down, the stock market goes up. But yet people still invest in the stock market.
Yeah.
And with real estate, now I have been blessed and we've held onto our real estate. So we've always made money, and that's the long term. You have to think about long term. And those are the conversations. So having that conversation, and that's a perfect story. And Josh has already done a video on that, knowing Josh. If not, he will do some.
Yes, he tells that story all the time. I had another really good conversation with somebody that we work with on our Find My Way Home network. And so one of the things that we do is we like to tell success stories. We like to tell stories of consumers we've helped. And then we put those online. We put them on YouTube and you transcribe it, you turn it into a blog post so that consumers can find it. But it's interesting because when you put that out, he's not telling a story to somebody specifically. He's telling a story about a problem that he solved.
Right.
So what we did is we took that video and he uploaded a list of his client referral partners. Most of his business is from referrals, right? From real estate agents. Took real estate agent custom audience and took his past clients. And all we did is posted a video of him telling a success story of a client.
Wow.
And that was it. And we transcribed it. That was the body. There was no call to action. There was no anything. We did that in January. He saw a 20+% increase in his referrals in the last 60 days. He usually gets about 100 referrals a month. He's getting 125, 130 the last 2 months.
Wow.
And people are calling him out of the blue because he's reminding them that he's a problem solver.
Yep.
And that's the power of what this is. You talk about what you do for a living and you remind people. And it's those kind of stories. And we caught up with Danny Ruiz here, and we talked to Danny when? January? When he was just getting into TikTok. And he was getting some traction and he was putting out his videos and he had gotten a bunch of Calendly appointments.
He was getting appointments.
But he hadn't really closed anything yet. And what did he say? He's actually doing business now.
Yeah. So I think he said 8 refinance.
I think so.
And 2 purchase. So, and
he had like 15 pre-approved and looking.
Yes.
So he was building a pipeline of pre-approved
and
looking.
he started in November.
Yeah.
November 11th, he said.
Yep.
He has 21,000 subscribers. But here's the key. And we go back to this time and time again. It's consistency.
Yeah.
So you can't put one out and say, I didn't get anything. He does it. He honestly, and Danny posts, he doesn't post every day. For a while he did when he got started, but he posts a lot.
Yeah, I asked him about that. I said, what was the longest period that you went without posting? And it sounded like it was about 5 days, maybe.
He had a period a couple weeks ago where he just got really busy. He had a lot of stuff going on.
Yep.
And I know I called him. It's like, okay, because Danny and I do a monthly call and we talk about his video plans and we actually record some videos. And he was like, Ginger, I can't because I seriously haven't stopped. I said, it's cool because here's the thing. He has done so much up until then that it's like he could take a break. But he got right back on track again because then it's a matter of, okay, yeah, I mean, we get busy. It's like we're traveling. I mean, I've been traveling for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And so, those kind of things happen. But get back on the horse again. Yes. And the other thing is to be able to, and for him especially for starting out, and this is the people, it's like, how do I start off? Mm-hmm. So first of all, decide one thing, and you talk about this, one you're going to do. Just choose one, whether it's Instagram, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Facebook, whether it's LinkedIn, and then look at the trends, especially like for TikTok and things like that. What's trending? What are people are looking at? And copy it. I mean, follow it.
That was actually something Danny mentioned again today. Mm-hmm. When he got started, and Kyle talks about this all the time too. And Kyle Seagraves, who has a really big YouTube channel, I think he's over 120,000 subscribers now. But what he said, and this is the same thing Danny said, when he was getting ready to go in, he just typed in the hashtag of mortgage and he just saw what everybody else was doing and how much traffic and how many subscribers. And then he just copied it. Right. Because see, you're not really copying this. And we say this a lot. There are not 10,000 questions about qualifying for mortgage or buying a house. There are 10 questions asked 10,000 ways. So anytime you tell that story, even if somebody else just did that video, you telling that video is going to be your voice, your personality, your appearance. It's going to be a different story. Right. You're not transcribing and reading word for word what they're doing. And it's like, it really is that easy. Like, it's like taking candy from a baby. It's like, it really is. All you have to do is just get over that hurdle
Yep.
of the lights and the camera and not having a person there.
And it doesn't have to be overproduced. And it's,
No,
it's funny because,
no. It's almost better if it's not.
And some people
In
don't
some
realize
cases.
so it's okay to mix some of those
Yep,
in there, like
100%.
do a really good about me video.
Yes,
Maybe
yeah,
even
yeah,
if
yeah.
you're doing some interviews, then put something into that.
Yep.
But, I had someone just come up and they showed me a real estate agent that they follow that has heavily produced videos. Like, spent a ton of money on it. And it's just a house, and they're doing the house, and they're doing the closet, but really heavily produced. Because I think I want to do something like this. Like, okay, first of all, you're not a real estate agent, so you don't have a house to show. And, the guidelines certainly do not look that attractive. So, pulling something like that up. And so I showed them, I said, for Kyle, it's like, what Kyle did? He educated.
Yeah.
He put the information out there, and that's how he's gotten to over 120,000 subscribers, is he told people what they needed to know.
Yep.
And he did it consistently. And so that's the key to it, is to be able to do that. And then look for trends, pull some other things, leverage your social media,
Yes.
use one to build off of the other, think about ways. Put them into your phone calls that you're making to your realtor. Say, hey, I just made a video, talks about pre-qual versus pre-approval. Can I send it to you? I just had one of our clients who I saw here that said they did a video from one of our scripts talking about condos and updates that were happening with FHA condos.
Yeah.
And he sent it out to his realtors, and he actually had a realtor who was in the middle of a deal going south. And he called him up. He's like, I just saw your video. I've got a buyer that needs to talk to you.
Yeah.
And it was from that one video. You never know who's going to need it at the time. So it's a matter of, putting it out there, right?
Yeah, we've got another person here, David Sy. He personally is out buying short-term rentals. Right. So Airbnb, DSCR loans. So
people want to get into that.
Oh my gosh.
To do videos about that.
He did videos about it, and within I think he said he's closed 4 deals over $600,000 off of that one video, because he shared it on social, and he started having a real estate agent. I mean, think about, what does a real estate agent want right now? A real estate agent wants somebody with 25% down, a DSCR investment property is probably going to need some work, right? So you don't have the same requirements and the same appraisal requirements, and that real estate agent wants to get paid. So with the very limited inventory they have, it might not be move-in ready. So that's a fantastic product right now. And he threw that up, but he told a story about what he was doing as he was going through the process of finding these properties and using this financing, this cash flow financing. And he was getting business off it right away. I was having a conversation in the hall earlier. I love chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I love chaos because in a certain segment of society is always going to be glass half empty.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're a glass half full, you're looking for those opportunities and you're telling those stories, because all of your competition is running around complaining about something that happened with rates last week that they had no control over.
Right.
But if you're glass half full, you're looking at, well, yes, that happened, and there's this opportunity that's showing itself. And I kind of told the story of, after the real estate crash, it was tragic. A lot of people lost a lot of equity, but in California, that was a first-time homebuyer's dream, because now all of a sudden in 2008, 2009, people could afford to buy in California. So I went after the first-time homebuyer market in 2008, 2009, and that's where all the business was. And so there's two sides to every story, and the more chaos, the more the more powerful I think that positive spin on that story is.
Yes, absolutely. Look, there was somebody said a quote one time. I don't know who it was. I think it, was a Carnegie or somebody back in business, and the 40s, whatever. They said if there's a big pile of doo-doo, look for the horse because something had to make it, right? And so, that's the key. It's like, if there is that chaos,
Yeah.
then it's like, what's the solution? How, where's the thing that caused it? And how can you educate around it or provide answers to it or things like that?
And again, we talked about this, telling the success stories, that you become a problem solver. People look at you as sort of a pillar of strength in the storm.
Right.
And you get a reputation for that. It doesn't matter specifically what you're talking about. It's the fact that you're putting a positive spin on a generally chaotic moment, because that's when people are really looking for answers in somebody that they can trust. You don't sugarcoat it. You don't say, this is the best time to do this. You're like, listen, it's tough out there.
Yeah.
And it's tough for a lot of people. And it's also a good opportunity for these people. So,
well, and it's the consistency too. We all know rates are up, rates are down, rates are up, rates are down. And if all
Always
you're
gonna be
doing
something.
videos about that, then people are going to look at you for that. And honestly, it doesn't matter how creative you get in the video that you do about rates are up, rates are down, rates are still low. Give me a call. It's like, just just answer their questions and get them, comfortable with you, and, like attracts like. So you're going to find the people that resonate to you that are looking for that information.
And kind of circle back, call back to Kevin's story about the storytelling is some vulnerability. Don't act like you understand everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a professional. I've been doing this forever. And I'll tell you what, this is confusing as hell out here. I've seen this before, though.
Right.
This happens in our market.
Right.
And I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's happening, overseas. There's a lot of stuff in the news.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that I'm going to pay attention and I'm going to find an opportunity in this and have that vulnerability. You don't want to go out there and just say, now is the time. You don't want to create this sense of urgency and pretend like you know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's okay to go out there and just say, you know what, I'm confused like you, but I've been doing this for 15 years and I'm very confident that we're going to find a way through this.
And we'll navigate through it.
And we'll navigate through this together. So stick around, subscribe to my channel. I'm going to do recent updates, right? So this kind of thing, so that people start to say, wow.
And they say, nobody has all the answers. I mean, my
No.
God, hello, we've been through a pandemic. Now we're getting into, who knows what, right?
Yeah.
The potential war.
Yeah.
So you can't. It's interesting you say that. So it's like, I just did a session. We talked about, trends in TikTok and things like that.
Yeah.
So we talked about leveraging trends and for you. But one of the trends right now on TikTok is what's called vulnerable or honest content.
I would argue that's
Everywhere.
that's always, that's interesting though,
But
because TikTok, you wouldn't think about that.
Yeah.
And that's do you think that has something to do, because TikTok just increased their video time up to 10 minutes now?
Yeah, from 3 to 10 last week, which was crazy because TikTok started off with just 1 minute, and
Yep.
then YouTube followed suit and created their shorts.
Yep.
For the answer to that. And then TikTok increased to 3 minutes and now to 10 minutes, which tells us, and I know so many people say, oh, they have to be short. They don't have to be short. They have to be informative or entertaining.
Yeah.
That's the main thing first and foremost. But, some of the things, there's, they look for sounds, hashtags, dance, challenge, a day in the life.
Yeah.
Which was another thing that I thought, hey, we can do a day in the life of a mortgage loan, a
What
day in
is
the
a-
life of an appraiser, a day in the life
Yes.
of a real estate agent, a day in the
Yes.
life of an insurance agent, a day in the life of a seller, a day in the life of a buyer. I mean,
Yeah.
a builder, a day in the life. Think about all of those things that you can do a day in the life, right?
I hate doing these things because you just get my juices flowing. I'm like thinking of all these things I
And you
want
have
to
to
do
get on a plane
now.
and go for a ride.
I'm gonna, it's like
You've got your
I've got my
remarkable.
remarkable. That thing is I'm gonna burn through that battery
Yeah.
on my plane ride home.
But even so the day in the life, think about, vulnerable content. And I mean, the whole day in the
Yeah.
life is like, I remember years ago, I had created videos for Total Expert and they wanted mortgage history. And so we went through mortgage history, and then it's funny, I did videos on a day in the life of a receptionist, a day in the life of an LOA, a day in the life of an underwriter. It's like, and we think of that as so mundane that nobody else is going to be interested. But I can tell you one of my top videos on YouTube is an interview I did with an underwriter.
Yeah. Yeah, and or a processor or somebody on your team, or what does a loan officer assistant do? It might not be a loan, but you might get to hire a loan officer assistant, or you might be able to hire a loan partner.
I get
off of
emails
it.
all
You
the
might-
time from people that want to become an appraiser or an underwriter. So all of those things. So think about that, ideas. We can go on and on. But those are some of the trends that are just that you wouldn't think. And now that we have that longer time, maybe we'll get into TikTok, Scott.
Yeah, it will at least, Jason Frazier did an event last year, and there was somebody there that was using TikTok. He wasn't posting to TikTok necessarily, but he was using the video editing platform because it was so easy to add effects and to download the video and then add it everywhere else. Yeah. So now we have up to 10 minutes with this really cool, really simple video editor. So I may very well
think
do
that's
it.
A video.
I don't know, but yeah, there's something there. So
I like that.
Isn't that funny? We thought we were sitting here talking. I wonder if we're going to have enough information to talk. This might be a short one.
I know that's
what doesn't happen with
honestly,
the two of us get together.
Full disclosure, we honestly have an entire plate of cookies.
So come on over. We have plenty of snacks, and okay. I think we did good. Yep. We gave everybody 25 minutes of good stuff.
Yeah. So you guys, if you're watching this afterwards, I know we have people watching. Thanks for tuning in. We totally appreciate it. And then if you have questions, post them below. Let us know what content you want coming up. We have some guests we're going to be inviting, but we always want to know what you guys want to hear about, what questions you have. We've kind of talked about unpacking some things, and I want to get into George's webinar jam and things like that. Yep. So we'll definitely get into that.
Strategies, tactics.
But let us know.
Yep.
Okay, so thanks for tuning in. Scott, we'll let you get on a plane and head back to Austin.
That's right. Bye, everybody.
Okay, take care. Bye.